Welcome to the Better Man Project, the audio program that explores the intersection of powerful principles behind great leadership, entrepreneurship, faith, and personal growth. Each week, we'll be diving into insightful summaries of books by authors who have mastered these areas and unpack key actionable principles and practical advice, giving you a taste of what makes these books so impactful. Whether you want to build a thriving business, inspire your team, or simply become a more effective leader in your own life, this podcast is for you.
Hi, I'm Mark. In my journey of personal growth, I've invested years building a formidable library. Thanks to a continuing education program that gave me monthly access to powerful books that are packed with incredible insights on how to level up in all aspects of life. I have tasked AI to make a bite-sized summary in a fun and engaging podcast format of each of these life-changing books, and I'm excited to share this wisdom as we do a deep dive of these amazing books. So let's dive in.
Ever wish there was like a roadmap to not just success, but an actually effective life? Well, you do.
Yeah.
And we're diving into it today.
Love it.
We're talking about Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Classic.
You shared the audiobook summary and a visual guide excerpt.
Great choices.
Yeah. Awesome choices.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot to unpack here. Our mission,
Okay.
if we choose to accept it,
All right.
is to extract those core principles, the insightful nuggets that have resonated with millions for decades, and see how they apply to you listening right now.
I love how this book, it's impacted people from presidents to parent CEOs to educators.
Right.
It's almost like he tapped into like a universal human desire for effectiveness.
Yeah, and he starts by emphasizing the power of habits themselves.
Yeah.
It's not just like airy-fairy self-help.
Right.
He argues that habits are the foundation of effectiveness. They literally shape who we become and what we achieve.
He doesn't shy away from the big picture, does he?
No, he does not.
The 7 habits then become this framework, not just for getting things done, but for effectiveness on a personal and interpersonal level.
Okay, so let's dive into those habits.
All right.
Habit 1 is be proactive,
Okay.
which sounds simple enough,
Mm-hmm.
but Covey gives it a whole new depth.
Oh, he goes way beyond just taking initiative.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Reactive people are driven by external circumstances.
Mm.
They're always at the mercy of what's happening around them.
Yeah.
Proactive people, on the other hand, they take responsibility for their choices and actions.
Okay.
They focus on what they can control.
I'm thinking about the story from the audiobook summary about the Amazonian tribe that saw a plane land on a runway.
Oh, yeah.
So they built their own runway thinking that was the key to getting a plane to come back.
Classic example of mistaking action for effectiveness.
Right.
Covey would say that being proactive is about understanding the underlying principles at play, not just blindly mimicking what you see. Like, sure, building a runway takes effort, but what are the real principles of attracting airplanes?
Yeah.
That's where true proactivity lies.
So you're not just reacting to things, you're consciously choosing your response and then taking action based on a deeper understanding.
Yeah.
That flows perfectly into habit 2, begin with the end in mind.
Exactly. This is all about vision and purpose.
Okay.
Covey challenges us to envision our desired outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we want to end up?
Yeah.
And then live our lives in alignment with those goals.
It makes me think about mission statements.
Yeah.
We define our values.
Right.
We set those clear goals
Right.
and then make choices that actually contribute to our overall purpose.
Instead of just drifting through life, we're steering the ship.
Right.
We're making intentional choices that move us towards what we truly want.
Okay, I need help with habit 3. Put first things first.
Okay.
The time management matrix always makes my head spin a little.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool, but it takes some practice to internalize. Essentially, Covey says we need to prioritize tasks based on 2 things: importance and urgency.
Okay.
And his big argument is that we should focus on the important but not urgent tasks.
Why those ones specifically?
Because those are the tasks that move us toward our long-term goals, like from habit 2, and prevent those last-minute crises that tend to derail us.
The visual guide had that interesting example of someone whose most productive time was between 3 and 6 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Not that we all need to become extreme early birds,
Right.
but it highlights that habit 3 is about finding your peak and planning accordingly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about self-awareness, understanding your rhythms, and working with them, not against them.
Okay.
Proactive planning instead of reactive firefighting, as they say.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got proactivity, purpose, and prioritizing,
Yeah.
which brings us to habit 4. Think win-win.
Okay.
At first glance, this seems straightforward, right? Everyone wants to win.
In theory, yes.
Yeah.
But putting it into practice can be surprisingly tricky.
Okay.
This habit is about seeking mutually beneficial solutions in all interactions, not just in business deals.
Makes me think about that economic principle that two people only trade if both benefit.
Yeah.
But win-win takes that beyond just transactions and applies it to all of life, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a mindset shift.
Okay.
Instead of seeing every interaction as a zero-sum game where someone has to lose,
Yeah.
you're looking for that solution where everyone walks away feeling good,
Okay.
which, of course, requires a healthy dose of habit 5.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Yes.
This one feels crucial.
Yeah.
Like the foundation for all the others.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Covey emphasizes empathic listening here, which goes beyond just waiting for your turn to speak. It's about truly understanding the other person's perspective before you even try to make yourself understood.
It's putting aside your assumptions and biases
Yeah.
and really getting into their headspace
Yeah.
to grasp not just what they're saying, but what they're feeling. Without that, how can you be truly proactive or find those win-win solutions?
You can't.
Yeah.
And that's why Covey places such emphasis on habit 5.
Okay.
It's the key to effective communication and collaboration, which brings us nicely to habit 6, synergize.
Ah, the power of teamwork.
Yes.
So much more than just everyone getting along right.
Exactly. Synergy happens when people with different perspectives work together creatively, valuing and leveraging those differences to come up with something truly innovative.
It's not just cooperation.
Right.
It's that 1 + 1 = 3 effect, where the outcome is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and finally we reach habit 7, sharpen the saw.
Okay.
This one feels a little different from the others.
It does, but it's equally vital.
Okay.
This habit is all about continuous self-renewal and improvement. It's recognizing that we're not machines, we're humans with finite resources that need to be replenished.
Self-care for effectiveness, essentially.
You got it.
Yeah.
And Covey breaks it down into 4 dimensions: physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
Wow.
Engaging in activities that nourish each of those areas is how we sharpen the saw and stay at our best.
Okay, we've explored these 7 habits, but how can we actually, apply these principles
Right.
to our own lives?
Mm-hmm.
Because reading about them is one thing, but making them stick
Yeah.
is a whole nother thing.
Absolutely. That's where the real transformation happens.
Right.
Let's take each habit and see how we can put it into action.
Okay.
Starting with habit 1, be proactive.
Okay.
What stands out to you as a key takeaway?
Well, that idea of focusing on our circle of influence really resonated with me.
Okay.
It's so easy to get caught up in things we can't control, all that outside noise.
Yeah.
But Covey reminds us to concentrate our energy on what we can influence.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Instead of being a victim of circumstance, you become the architect of your own life.
Right.
It might involve taking a step back and analyzing where you're spending your time and energy.
Right.
Are you focused on things within your control, or are you wasting energy on things you can't change?
It's like becoming aware of your reactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Catching yourself when you're slipping into that reactive mindset
Yeah.
and consciously choosing a more proactive response.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a subtle shift, but it can have a ripple effect on your overall effectiveness.
Okay.
And that leads nicely into habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
How can we make that vision a reality?
Well, Covey talks about envisioning your ideal future.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want your life to look like in 5 years, 10 years?
You're right.
What kind of person do you want to be?
Yeah.
It's deeper than just setting goals.
Right.
It's about defining your core values
Hmm.
and using them as a compass to guide your decisions.
Imagine drawing a map to your ideal destination.
Okay.
Those core values are the landmarks, the guiding principles that keep you on track.
Right.
It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and lose sight of the bigger picture.
So instead of setting arbitrary goals,
Yeah.
we're aligning our actions with our deepest values and aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
Our choices become intentional. Each step taking us closer to that end goal.
You're getting it.
Yeah.
It's about living a life that's authentic to who you are and what you believe in.
Right.
Which, of course, requires effective time management.
Yes.
Which brings us to habit 3. Put first things first.
Yes.
How do we actually make the time management matrix work for us?
This is where I always struggle.
Okay.
It's easy to understand in theory,
Right.
but applying it to a chaotic schedule is tough.
Yeah.
Covey says we should focus on those important but not urgent tasks. But how do we resist the pull of the urgent but not important stuff?
Yeah.
The things that scream for our attention but don't actually move us forward.
It takes practice and a bit of self-discipline.
Right.
It starts with identifying those important but not urgent tasks.
Okay.
What are the things that will truly make a difference in your life? The things that align with your long-term goals and values.
So things like personal development, building relationships, planning for the future. Stuff that often gets pushed aside when the urgent things pop up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the key is to schedule those things into your day to make them non-negotiable appointments with yourself.
So it's not about just reacting to whatever comes up.
Right.
It's a proactively creating space for those important tasks.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And if you can master that, you'll find yourself preventing those last-minute crises and feeling much more in control of your time and energy.
Right.
Which makes it easier to bring other people into the mix with habit 4. Think win-win.
Right. Because if you're constantly stressed and overwhelmed,
Yeah.
it's harder to approach interactions with that win-win mindset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do we apply think win-win in our relationships at work in everyday life?
Well, it starts with that belief that there is a solution that benefits everyone involved.
Okay.
Instead of seeing it as a zero-sum game, we're looking for that creative solution where everyone walks away feeling good.
It's like expanding the pie instead of just fighting over the slices that are already there.
Right.
But what happens when you encounter someone who is playing that zero-sum game, someone who's only interested in their own win?
That's where habit 5 comes in.
Yes.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Before we even try to convince them of our perspective,
Right.
we need to truly understand theirs.
You're catching on.
Yeah.
It's about listening with the intent to understand, not just to reply, putting aside your own assumptions and judgment, and really trying to see the world through their eyes.
That's hard, especially when you feel like you're right.
It is.
But it's so important for building trust and finding those win-win solutions. Once you have that understanding, you can start looking for creative solutions that meet everyone's needs.
And that's where the magic of Habit 6 Synergize happens.
So it's more than just compromise.
Right.
It's about finding solutions that are truly greater than the sum of their parts.
Exactly. You're leveraging the diversity of perspectives and experiences to create something truly innovative.
Right.
It's that 1 + 1 3 effect we talked about earlier.
And finally, we reach habit 7, sharpen the saw.
Okay.
This one feels like a reminder to take care of ourselves
Yeah.
so we can be effective in all areas of our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's about investing in our physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. We're not machines.
Right.
We need to recharge and renew to operate at our best.
So what does that look like in practice?
Okay.
What are some ways to sharpen the saw?
It's different for everyone, but here are some ideas.
Okay.
Physical. Regular exercise, healthy eating, getting enough sleep,
Okay.
social, emotional, nurturing relationships, spending time with loved ones, giving back to your community, mental, reading, learning new things, engaging in creative pursuits,
Right.
spiritual, meditation, spending time in nature, connecting with your faith or beliefs.
It's about finding what nourishes and replenishes you in each of those areas. It's not selfish. It's essential for sustaining long-term effectiveness.
Right. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
Investing in your well-being is an investment in your effectiveness.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've explored each of the 7 habits and discussed practical ways to apply them in our daily lives. What stands out to you as a key takeaway so far? It's amazing how these, seemingly simple habits
Right.
can have such a profound impact on our lives.
Yeah.
The audiobook summary mentioned that the 7 habits has been transforming lives for almost 3 decades.
Wow.
That's incredible.
It really speaks to the enduring power of these principles. They tap into something fundamental about human nature,
Yeah,
our desire to live meaningful and effective lives.
totally. But as with any deep dive, I always end up with more questions.
Okay.
We've talked about applying these habits to personal and professional life, but what about on a larger scale? Could these principles apply to, like, societal challenges? Could they help bridge divides, solve global problems?
That's a fascinating question.
Yeah.
And one that Covey himself addressed.
Okay.
He believed these habits weren't just for individuals. They could be scaled up to organizations, communities, even nations.
So imagine a world where leaders practiced empathic listening,
Right.
sought win-win solutions, and prioritized long-term well-being over short-term gains.
Yeah.
It sounds almost utopian.
It might seem idealistic,
Yeah.
but I think there's real power in aiming for that kind of transformation. It starts with each of us embodying these principles in our own lives,
Right.
creating a ripple effect of positive change.
Which brings us back to that 8th habit,
Yeah.
finding our voice and inspiring others to find theirs.
Right.
It's about leading by example, showing the world what's possible when we live by these principles.
Exactly. Covey saw the 8th habit as the natural progression from the first 7.
Okay.
Once we've mastered effectiveness in our own lives, we can then focus on making a real difference in the world around us.
So maybe the 7 habits isn't just a roadmap to personal effectiveness,
Yeah.
but a blueprint for a more effective world.
That's a great way to put it.
That's a pretty inspiring thought.
It is, and it all starts with that first step, that decision to become more proactive.
Right.
To define your purpose, to prioritize what truly matters.
Well, listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
It's been a good one.
We unpacked the core principles, explored their practical applications, and even glimpsed at the path beyond effectiveness.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have.
But I hope this deep dive has sparked your own curiosity to explore Covey's work further.
Yes. And to ponder that final question.
Okay.
What does it mean to not just do things right, but to do the right things? Keep that in mind as you navigate your own journey toward a more effective and meaningful life.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Hey listeners, thanks for tuning into another episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please do us a favor and like, share, and smash that subscribe button. That way, you won't miss a single episode packed with insights on leadership, entrepreneurship, faith, and personal growth. We've got fresh content coming your way every single week. Only here on the Better Man Project.